Ladies and gentlemen, today we delve into the life of one of the most enigmatic and influential figures of the 20th century, a man whose name became synonymous with organized crime, strategic brilliance, and the shadowy underworld of America. Born in the early 1900s, this individual rose from humble beginnings to become a key architect of the criminal empire that dominated the 1920s through the 1970s. His story is not just one of crime, but also of ambition, intelligence, and the complex interplay between power and morality. This man was not a typical gangster. He was not known for brute force or flashy displays of violence. Instead, he was a mastermind, a strategist who understood the power of money, influence, and organization. He played a pivotal role in shaping the criminal landscape of his time, working alongside some of the most notorious figures of the era. Yet, despite his involvement in illegal activities, he was often described as a quiet, calculating individual who preferred to operate behind the scenes. To truly understand the rise of this enigmatic figure, we must begin at the very beginning, his early life and the circumstances that shaped him. Born in the early 1900s, he came into the world in what is now modern-day Belarus, then part of the Russian Empire. His family, like so many others during that time, faced the harsh realities of poverty, political instability, and widespread anti-Semitism. Seeking a better life, they made the difficult decision to emigrate to the United States, joining the waves of immigrants who arrived at Ellis Island in search of the American dream. They settled in New York City, a bustling metropolis teeming with opportunity, but also rife with challenges. The family lived in the Lower East Side, a neighborhood known for its crowded tenements and vibrant immigrant communities. Life was far from easy. His father worked tirelessly in menial jobs, struggling to provide for the family, while his mother did her best to create a stable home environment. From a young age, he witnessed the hardships of immigrant life, the long hours, the meager wages, and the constant struggle to make ends meet. It was in this environment that he began to develop the traits that would later define him: resilience, resourcefulness, and an unyielding determination to rise above his circumstances. The streets of New York were a harsh teacher, but they also offered valuable lessons. He learned the importance of alliances, the art of negotiation, and the necessity of thinking several steps ahead. These skills would serve him well in the years to come. As a young boy, he was drawn to the world of numbers and strategy. He excelled in mathematics, a talent that would later become one of his greatest assets. However, the allure of the streets proved stronger than the confines of the classroom. He dropped out of school at a young age, choosing instead to immerse himself in the vibrant, chaotic world of New York's underworld. It was here that he began to make a name for himself. He started small, running errands for local gamblers and hustlers, but it wasn't long before he began to carve out his own niche. He quickly gained a reputation for being sharp, reliable, and fiercely loyal. These qualities caught the attention of more established figures in the criminal world, and before long, he found himself climbing the ranks. His early experiences also instilled in him a deep sense of pragmatism. He understood that survival in this world required more than just brute strength. It required intelligence, foresight, and the ability to adapt. He was not one to rely on violence. Instead, he preferred to use his mind, carefully calculating every move and anticipating every possible outcome. By the time Prohibition was enacted in the 1920s, he was already well positioned to take advantage of the new opportunities it presented. The ban on alcohol created a massive black market, and he was quick to recognize its potential. Alongside his associates, he began to build a bootlegging empire, smuggling alcohol across state lines and establishing a network of speakeasies. This marked the beginning of his rise to power, but it was his early life, the struggles, the lessons, and the relentless drive to succeed that laid the foundation for everything that followed. In many ways, his story is a reflection of the immigrant experience in America, a tale of ambition, resilience, and the pursuit of a better life. Yet it is also a cautionary tale, a reminder of how easily the pursuit of success can lead one down a darker path. His early years were marked by hardship and adversity, but they also shaped the man he would become, a man who would leave an indelible mark on the world, for better or for worse. The 1920s in America were a time of dramatic social and cultural change, but perhaps no single event had a more profound impact on the nation's underworld than the enactment of Prohibition. The 18th Amendment, which banned the manufacture, sale, and transportation of alcoholic beverages, was intended to curb societal ills and promote moral reform. Instead, it gave rise to one of the most lucrative and chaotic criminal enterprises in American history, bootlegging. For our subject, this era was not just an opportunity, it was the catalyst that propelled him into the upper echelons of organized crime. When Prohibition took effect in 1920, the demand for alcohol did not disappear. It simply went underground. Overnight, a massive black market emerged, creating a golden opportunity for those willing to take the risk. Our subject, already a shrewd and ambitious young man, recognized the potential immediately. He saw Prohibition not as a restriction, but as a gateway to immense wealth and power. Alongside his associates, he began to build a bootlegging operation that would eventually span the entire country. The business of bootlegging was complex and dangerous. It required not only the ability to produce or procure alcohol, but also the logistical expertise to transport it safely and discreetly. Our subject excelled in this arena. He was a master strategist, carefully planning every detail of his operations to minimize risk and maximize profit. He established a network of suppliers, many of whom were based in Canada or the Caribbean, where alcohol was still legal. These suppliers would ship their products to the United States, often under the cover of darkness, using boats, trucks, and even airplanes to evade law enforcement. Once the alcohol reached American shores, it had to be distributed to speakeasies, illegal bars that sprang up in cities and towns across the country. These establishments became the lifeblood of the bootlegging industry, and our subject was quick to establish control over them. He formed alliances with bar owners, politicians, and law enforcement officials, ensuring that his operations ran smoothly. Bribes and payoffs became a routine part of the business, and he became adept at navigating the corrupt landscape of Prohibition-era America. One of the key factors that set our subject apart from other bootleggers was his ability to think big. While many of his competitors focused on small-scale operations, he envisioned a nationwide network that could dominate the industry. He formed strategic partnerships with other powerful figures in the criminal underworld, creating a coalition that controlled much of the bootlegging trade. This coalition, often referred to as the National Crime Syndicate, was a precursor to the modern mafia and marked the beginning of organized crime as we know it today. The profits from bootlegging were staggering. At the height of Prohibition, it is estimated that the illegal alcohol trade generated billions of dollars in revenue. Our subject used this wealth to expand his influence, investing in legitimate businesses, as well as other criminal enterprises. He understood the importance of diversification, and by the time Prohibition was repealed in 1933, he had already laid the groundwork for his next ventures. But the impact of Prohibition went beyond mere financial gain. It was during this time that our subject honed the skills that would define his career: strategic thinking, negotiation, and the ability to build and maintain alliances. He learned how to operate in the shadows, avoiding the spotlight while pulling the strings from behind the scenes. He also developed a reputation for fairness and reliability, qualities that earned him the respect and loyalty of his peers. Prohibition also exposed the darker side of his ambitions. The bootlegging industry was rife with violence, as rival gangs fought for control of territory and resources. While our subject was not known for being overtly violent, he was not above using force when necessary. He understood that in the world of organized crime, power often had to be backed by the threat of violence, and he was willing to do whatever it took to protect his interests. In many ways, Prohibition was the defining chapter of our subject's early career. It was the era that transformed him from a street-smart hustler into a powerful and influential figure. The lessons he learned during this time about money, power, and the importance of organization would shape his approach to crime for decades to come. And while Prohibition may have ended in 1933, its legacy lived on in the empire he built, an empire that would continue to grow and evolve long after the speakeasies had closed their doors. In the world of organized crime, no one succeeds alone. The ability to form and maintain strategic alliances is often the difference between a fleeting moment of power and a lasting legacy. For our subject, this truth was evident from the very beginning of his rise. His genius lay not only in his individual talents, but in his ability to recognize the strengths of others and forge partnerships that amplified his own influence. These alliances were the cornerstone of his success, enabling him to build a criminal empire that spanned decades and crossed borders. One of the most significant alliances he formed was with a fellow immigrant who shared his ambition and vision. This partnership, which began in the rough-and-tumble streets of New York City, would become one of the most powerful and enduring in the history of organized crime. Together, they complemented each other's strengths. While one was known for his charisma and physical presence, our subject brought a keen intellect and a talent for strategy. This dynamic duo became the driving force behind many of the era's most lucrative criminal enterprises, from bootlegging to gambling to labor racketeering. But their partnership was just the beginning. Our subject understood that to achieve true dominance, he needed to expand his network beyond a single ally. He began to cultivate relationships with other key figures in the criminal underworld, creating a web of connections that extended across the United States and beyond. These alliances were not based on loyalty alone. They were carefully calculated arrangements, built on mutual benefit and a shared understanding of the rules of the game. One of the hallmarks of our subject's approach to alliances was his ability to mediate conflicts and maintain order. The criminal underworld was a volatile place, with rival factions constantly vying for power. Our subject became known as a peacemaker, someone who could negotiate truces and broker deals between warring parties. His reputation for fairness and pragmatism earned him the trust of even his fiercest competitors, and he used this trust to create a sense of unity within the fragmented world of organized crime. This unity was formalized in the creation of the National Crime Syndicate, a coalition of criminal organizations that operated under a shared set of rules and protocols. Our subject played a central role in its formation, using his diplomatic skills to bring together leaders from different ethnic and regional groups. The syndicate was a groundbreaking development in the history of organized crime, marking the transition from disjointed, localized operations to a cohesive, nationwide network. It allowed for the efficient distribution of resources, the resolution of disputes, and the coordination of large-scale criminal activities. Our subject's alliances were not limited to the criminal underworld. He also cultivated relationships with politicians, law enforcement officials, and business leaders, recognizing that influence in the legitimate world was just as important as power in the shadows. These connections provided him with protection, information, and opportunities to launder his illicit profits. He was a master at navigating the gray areas between legality and illegality, using his charm and intelligence to win over even the most skeptical of allies. One of the most remarkable aspects of our subject's approach to alliances was his ability to adapt to changing circumstances. As the criminal landscape evolved, so too did his network of connections. When Prohibition ended, he shifted his focus to gambling, forming new partnerships with casino owners and investors. When the heat from law enforcement intensified, he expanded his operations overseas, building alliances with criminal organizations in Europe, the Caribbean, and Latin America. This adaptability ensured that he remained a relevant and powerful figure, even as the world around him changed. Yet, for all his skill in forming alliances, our subject was not without his challenges. The criminal world is inherently unstable, and even the strongest partnerships can be tested by greed, betrayal, and external pressures. Our subject faced his share of conflicts and betrayals, but he always managed to navigate these challenges with a combination of pragmatism and ruthlessness. He understood that alliances were not friendships. They were tools to be used in the pursuit of power, and he was willing to cut ties when necessary. In the end, it was our subject's ability to build and maintain strategic alliances that set him apart from his peers. He was not just a criminal. He was a visionary who understood the importance of collaboration and organization. His network of connections was the foundation of his empire, enabling him to achieve a level of influence and longevity that few in his line of work could match. Through his alliances, He not only shaped the course of his own life, but also left an indelible mark on the history of organized crime. The creation of the National Crime Syndicate stands as one of the most significant achievements in the history of organized crime, and our subject was at the very heart of its formation. This coalition, often referred to as the Commission, represented a seismic shift in the way criminal organizations operated. It marked the transition from fragmented, localized gangs to a unified, nationwide network that could coordinate large-scale operations, resolve disputes, and maximize profits. For our subject, the syndicate was not just a means to an end. It was the culmination of his vision for a more organized and efficient criminal enterprise. The idea for the National Crime Syndicate emerged in the early 1930s, a time when the criminal underworld was in a state of chaos. The end of Prohibition had left many gangsters scrambling to find new sources of income, leading to increased competition and violent turf wars. Our subject recognized that this infighting was counterproductive. He saw that the future of organized crime lay in cooperation, not conflict. By bringing together the leaders of the most powerful criminal organizations in the country, he aimed to create a system that would benefit everyone involved. The process of forming the syndicate was no small feat. It required diplomacy, negotiation, and a deep understanding of the personalities and motivations of the various crime bosses. Our subject was uniquely suited to this task. His reputation as a fair and pragmatic leader had earned him the respect of his peers, and his ability to mediate conflicts made him the ideal candidate to broker the necessary agreements. Over a series of secret meetings, he worked tirelessly to convince rival factions to set aside their differences and work together for the greater good. The structure of the National Crime Syndicate was modeled after a corporate board of directors. Each member organization retained its autonomy but agreed to abide by a set of rules and protocols designed to prevent conflict and ensure fair distribution of profits. Disputes were to be resolved through negotiation rather than violence, and any member who violated the syndicate's code of conduct faced severe consequences. This system brought a level of order and stability to the criminal underworld that had never been seen before. One of the key functions of the syndicate was to oversee the distribution of territories and resources. Our subject played a central role in this process, using his strategic mind to allocate responsibilities in a way that maximized efficiency and minimized friction. For example, he ensured that bootlegging routes, gambling operations, and labor rackets were divided fairly among the member organizations, reducing the likelihood of disputes. This careful planning allowed the syndicate to operate with a level of coordination and professionalism that rivaled legitimate businesses. The syndicate also provided a platform for collaboration on large-scale ventures. One of its most notable achievements was the expansion of illegal gambling operations across the United States. Under the syndicate's guidance, casinos, bookmaking rings, and numbers games flourished, generating enormous profits for its members. Our subject was instrumental in this effort, using his connections and expertise to establish gambling hubs in cities like New York, Chicago, and Miami. Later, he would play a pivotal role in the development of Las Vegas, transforming it into a gambling Mecca that became a cornerstone of the syndicate's empire. Another important aspect of the syndicate was its ability to provide protection and support for its members. By pooling their resources, the member organizations could afford to bribe politicians, intimidate law enforcement, and hire the best lawyers. This collective power made it much more difficult for authorities to dismantle their operations. Our subject was a master at navigating the system, using his influence to shield himself and his allies from legal consequences. His ability to outmaneuver law enforcement became legendary, earning him the nickname the mob's accountant. The National Crime Syndicate also had a significant impact on the broader landscape of organized crime. It served as a model for criminal organizations around the world, inspiring similar coalitions in Europe, Asia, and Latin America. Our subject's role in its creation cemented his status as one of the most influential figures in the history of organized crime. He was not just a participant in the syndicate. He was one of its architects, a visionary who understood the power of unity and organization. However, the syndicate was not without its challenges. Maintaining order among such a diverse and volatile group of individuals was no easy task, and conflicts occasionally erupted despite the best efforts of its leaders. Our subject's ability to mediate these disputes was crucial to the syndicate's survival. He used a combination of diplomacy and, when necessary, calculated displays of force to keep the peace. His reputation as a fair but formidable leader ensured that he remained a central figure in the syndicate's operations for decades. The legacy of the National Crime Syndicate is a testament to our subject's genius and ambition. It represented a new era in organized crime, one defined by structure, collaboration, and long-term planning. Through the syndicate, our subject was able to achieve a level of power and influence that few in his line of work could ever hope to attain. It was not just a criminal organization, it was a reflection of his vision, his determination, and his unwavering belief in the potential of organized crime to transcend its chaotic origins and become a force to be reckoned with. The story of Las Vegas is inextricably linked to the rise of organized crime in America, and no figure played a more pivotal role in shaping its destiny than our subject. What began as a dusty, remote desert town in Nevada would eventually become the glittering gambling capital of the world, and our subject was one of the key architects of this transformation. His vision, ambition, and strategic brilliance turned Las Vegas into a symbol of excess, opportunity, and the blurred lines between legality and illegality. The seeds of Las Vegas's rise were planted in the early 1940s, when Nevada legalized gambling in an effort to boost its struggling economy. For our subject, this was a golden opportunity. He had long recognized the potential of gambling as a lucrative enterprise, having already established successful operations in cities like New York, Miami, and Havana. But Las Vegas offered something unique, a blank canvas, a place where the rules were still being written and the possibilities seemed endless. Our subject's involvement in Las Vegas began with his connections to the city's early developers. He provided the financial backing and organizational expertise needed to build the first wave of casinos, often using funds from his illicit activities. These investments were carefully laundered through a network of legitimate businesses, ensuring that the money appeared clean on paper. This practice, which our subject had perfected over the years, allowed him to operate in plain sight while maintaining a veneer of respectability. One of the most iconic casinos associated with our subject was the Flamingo Hotel, which opened in 1946. Although it was officially owned by one of his associates, our subject played a crucial role in its development. The Flamingo was more than just a casino. It was a symbol of the new Las Vegas, a place where luxury, entertainment, and gambling came together to create an unforgettable experience. The casino featured top-tier performers, lavish accommodations, and state-of-the-art facilities, setting a standard that other establishments would strive to emulate. But the road to success in Las Vegas was not without its challenges. The city's early years were marked by fierce competition, financial instability, and occasional violence. Our subject's ability to navigate this volatile environment was a testament to his strategic genius. He formed alliances with other powerful figures in the criminal underworld, ensuring that his interests were protected. He also cultivated relationships with politicians and law enforcement officials, using bribes and favors to secure their cooperation. This network of influence allowed him to operate with relative impunity, even as the federal government began to take a closer look at organized crime. One of the key factors that set our subject apart from other casino owners was his focus on long-term planning. He understood that Las Vegas's success depended on more than just gambling. It needed to become a destination, a place where people from all over the world would come to experience the thrill of the casino floor and the glamour of the entertainment industry. To achieve this, he invested heavily in marketing and promotion, bringing in big-name entertainers and hosting high-profile events. He also ensured that the casinos were run with a level of professionalism and efficiency that rivaled legitimate businesses, creating an atmosphere of trust and reliability for patrons. Our subject's influence extended beyond the casinos themselves. He played a key role in shaping the city's infrastructure, from its transportation networks to its water supply. He understood that for Las Vegas to thrive, it needed to be accessible and functional, and he used his resources to make that happen. This holistic approach to development was a hallmark of his style, reflecting his belief in the importance of planning and organization. As Las Vegas grew, so too did our subject's empire. He expanded his operations to include not just casinos but also hotels, restaurants, and entertainment venues. He became a major player in the city's real estate market, acquiring land and properties that would increase in value as the city flourished. His ability to see the big picture and anticipate future trends allowed him to stay ahead of the competition, ensuring that his influence in Las Vegas remained unchallenged. However, our subject's involvement in Las Vegas was not without controversy. The city's rapid growth and association with organized crime attracted the attention of federal authorities, who launched a series of investigations into the casino industry. Our subject's ability to evade prosecution became the stuff of legend, but the constant scrutiny took its toll. In the later years of his life, he was forced to step back from his direct involvement in Las Vegas, though his influence continued to be felt through his associates and protégés. The legacy of our subject's role in the development of Las Vegas is undeniable. He helped transform a sleepy desert town into a global icon, a place where dreams are made and fortunes are lost. His vision and ambition laid the foundation for the modern casino industry, and his influence can still be seen in the city's skyline and culture. But his story is also a reminder of the complex and often murky relationship between crime and commerce, and the ways in which the pursuit of power and profit can shape the world in unexpected ways. Las Vegas stands as a testament to our subject's genius, his ability to see opportunity where others saw only risk, and his unwavering belief in the potential of organized crime to transcend its origins and become a force for change. It is a legacy that continues to captivate and intrigue, a reminder of the enduring allure of the American dream. No matter how dark its shadows may be in the annals of organized crime, few figures have been as adept at navigating the complexities of finance as our subject. His mastery of money laundering, the process of disguising the origins of illegally obtained funds, was nothing short of revolutionary. Long before the term entered the public lexicon, he was perfecting techniques that would become the blueprint for modern financial crime. His ability to transform dirty money into clean, untraceable assets was a cornerstone of his empire, allowing him to amass vast wealth while evading the scrutiny of law enforcement. The need for money laundering arose from the sheer scale of our subject's operations. The profits generated from bootlegging, gambling, and other illicit activities were enormous, but they were also difficult to manage. Cash, while anonymous, was cumbersome and risky to store or transport. Moreover, large sums of unexplained wealth would inevitably attract the attention of tax authorities and law enforcement. Our subject recognized early on that to sustain and grow his empire, he needed a way to legitimize his earnings, to make them appear as though they came from legal sources. One of the earliest and most effective methods he employed was the use of legitimate businesses as fronts. These businesses, which ranged from laundromats to nightclubs to real estate firms, provided a veneer of respectability while serving as conduits for illicit funds. For example, a casino might report inflated revenues, with the excess cash representing profits from illegal gambling or other activities. Similarly, a chain of laundromats could be used to clean large amounts of cash by mixing it with legitimate earnings. This practice, which gave money laundering its name, became a hallmark of our subject's operations. But our subject's ingenuity didn't stop there. He was a pioneer in the use of offshore accounts and shell companies, long before these tools became widely known. By establishing businesses in countries with lax financial regulations, he was able to move money across borders with minimal oversight. These offshore entities, often registered under false names or held by trusted associates, provided an additional layer of protection against prying eyes. This global approach to money laundering allowed him to operate on an international scale, with funds flowing seamlessly between the United States, Europe, the Caribbean, and beyond. Another key aspect of our subject's money laundering strategy was his ability to exploit legal loopholes and manipulate financial systems. He worked closely with accountants, lawyers, and bankers who were willing to turn a blind eye to the source of his wealth. These professionals helped him navigate the complexities of tax laws, corporate structures, and banking regulations, ensuring that his operations remained undetected. In some cases, they even helped him secure loans or investments using laundered money as collateral, further legitimizing his assets. Our subject's approach to money laundering was characterized by meticulous planning and attention to detail. He understood that even the smallest mistake could unravel his entire operation, so he took great care to ensure that every transaction was carefully documented and accounted for. This level of precision allowed him to maintain the appearance of legitimacy, even as he funneled millions of dollars through his network of businesses and accounts. One of the most remarkable aspects of our subject's money laundering activities was their sheer scale. At the height of his power, it is estimated that he controlled hundreds of businesses and accounts, each playing a role in the laundering process. These operations were not limited to the United States. They spanned the globe, with funds moving through a complex web of transactions designed to obscure their origins. This global network made it nearly impossible for authorities to trace the money back to its source, ensuring that our subject remained one step ahead of the law. Despite the sophistication of his methods, our subject's money laundering activities were not without risk. The constant threat of investigation and prosecution loomed over him, and he was forced to adapt his strategies as law enforcement techniques evolved. He became adept at staying one step ahead of the authorities, using his network of contacts and his deep understanding of the financial system to outmaneuver them at every turn. This cat-and-mouse game became a defining feature of his career, earning him a reputation as one of the most elusive figures in the history of organized crime. The legacy of our subject's money laundering activities is profound. His techniques laid the groundwork for modern financial crime, influencing everything from drug cartels to corporate fraud. The methods he pioneered, front businesses, offshore accounts, shell companies, are still used today, albeit with greater sophistication and on a larger scale. His ability to manipulate the financial system and evade detection remains a source of fascination and frustration for law enforcement agencies around the world. But perhaps the most enduring aspect of our subject's legacy is the way he blurred the lines between legality and illegality. By integrating his illicit earnings into the legitimate economy, he demonstrated the extent to which crime and commerce are intertwined. His story is a reminder that the pursuit of wealth and power often involves navigating a moral gray area where the rules are fluid and the stakes are high. In the end, our subject's mastery of money laundering was not just a means to an end. It was a reflection of his genius, his ambition, and his ability to see opportunity where others saw only risk. It was a skill that allowed him to build an empire, evade the law, and leave an indelible mark on the world of organized crime. And while the methods may have evolved, the principles he established continue to shape the way we think about money, power, and the lengths to which people will go to achieve their goals. Throughout his long and storied career, our subject was a constant target of law enforcement. His involvement in bootlegging, gambling, money laundering, and other illicit activities made him one of the most high-profile figures in the world of organized crime. Yet, despite numerous investigations, indictments, and trials, he managed to avoid significant prison time for most of his life. This ability to evade the full weight of the law was not a matter of luck. It was the result of careful planning, strategic alliances, and an uncanny ability to outmaneuver his adversaries. One of the key factors that allowed our subject to stay one step ahead of the law was his meticulous attention to detail. He understood that even the smallest mistake could lead to his downfall, so he took great care to ensure that his operations were as airtight as possible. This meant keeping detailed records, maintaining a low profile, and avoiding unnecessary risks. Unlike many of his contemporaries, who reveled in their notoriety, our subject preferred to operate in the shadows, letting others take the spotlight while he pulled the strings from behind the scenes. Another critical element of his strategy was his network of alliances. Our subject cultivated relationships with politicians, law enforcement officials, and judges, using bribes and favors to secure their cooperation. These connections provided him with valuable information about ongoing investigations and impending raids, allowing him to stay one step ahead of the authorities. In some cases, They even helped him influence the outcome of legal proceedings, ensuring that charges were dropped or sentences were reduced. This web of influence extended far beyond the criminal underworld, giving him a level of protection that few could match. Our subject's ability to navigate the legal system was also a testament to his intelligence and resourcefulness. He surrounded himself with some of the best lawyers in the country, who were skilled at exploiting loopholes and challenging the evidence against him. These legal experts often succeeded in getting charges dismissed on technicalities or convincing juries that there was reasonable doubt. In one notable case, our subject was acquitted of tax evasion after his lawyers argued that the government had failed to prove the source of his income. This victory not only solidified his reputation as a master of evasion, but also sent a clear message to law enforcement. Taking him down would not be easy. Despite these advantages, our subject's legal troubles were far from over. The federal government, particularly the FBI under J. Edgar Hoover, viewed him as a top priority and dedicated significant resources to bringing him to justice. Over the years, he was indicted on charges ranging from tax evasion to conspiracy to racketeering. Each time, he faced the possibility of lengthy prison sentences, but each time, he managed to avoid the worst outcomes. One of the most significant legal battles of his career came in the 1950s when he was charged with tax evasion. The government alleged that he had failed to report millions of dollars in income from his various criminal enterprises. The trial was a high-stakes affair, with prosecutors presenting a mountain of evidence and calling numerous witnesses to testify against him. Yet, once again, our subject's legal team managed to sow enough doubt in the minds of the jury to secure an acquittal. This outcome was a major blow to law enforcement and a testament to our subject's ability to outmaneuver even the most determined adversaries. However, not all of his legal battles ended in victory. In the 1970s, after decades of evading significant consequences, our subject finally faced a series of setbacks. He was indicted on multiple charges, including conspiracy and obstruction of justice, and this time, the evidence against him was overwhelming. Faced with the prospect of spending his remaining years in prison, he chose to flee the country, settling in Israel under the law of return, which granted citizenship to Jews. Although he was eventually extradited back to the United States, the legal proceedings dragged on for years, and he was never convicted of the most serious charges. Our subject's ability to evade significant prison time for most of his life was a source of frustration for law enforcement and a testament to his skill and resourcefulness. He understood the importance of staying informed, building alliances, and using the legal system to his advantage. His ability to outmaneuver his adversaries became a defining feature of his career, earning him a reputation as one of the most elusive figures in the history of organized crime. Yet, his legal troubles also highlight the limitations of his power. Despite his best efforts, he could not completely escape the reach of the law, and the constant threat of prosecution took a toll on him. In his later years, he lived in relative obscurity, far removed from the glitz and glamour of his earlier days. His story serves as a reminder that even the most powerful and resourceful individuals are not immune to the consequences of their actions. In the end, our subject's ability to evade significant legal consequences for so long is a testament to his intelligence, his strategic thinking, and his unwavering determination to protect his empire. It is a legacy that continues to captivate and intrigue, reminder of the enduring allure of power and the lengths to which people will go to preserve it. The reach of our subject's influence extended far beyond the borders of the United States, making him a truly global figure in the world of organized crime. His ability to forge international alliances and establish operations in multiple countries was a testament to his vision, adaptability, and understanding of the interconnected nature of the criminal underworld. From Europe to the Caribbean to Latin America, he built a network of connections that allowed him to expand his empire, evade law enforcement, and solidify his status as one of the most powerful figures in organized crime history. One of the earliest examples of our subject's global ambitions was his involvement in the Cuban gambling industry. In the 1930s and 1940s, Cuba was a playground for wealthy tourists and a hub for illegal activities, particularly gambling. Our subject recognized the potential of the island nation as a base for his operations and began investing in casinos, hotels, and nightclubs. He formed partnerships with local politicians and business leaders, ensuring that his ventures were protected from interference. At its peak, his Cuban empire included some of the most luxurious establishments in Havana, attracting high rollers from around the world. However, our subject's involvement in Cuba was not without its challenges. The political instability of the region, particularly the rise of Fidel Castro's revolutionary government in the late 1950s, posed a significant threat to his operations. When Castro came to power in 1959, he nationalized the casinos and expelled foreign investors, effectively ending our subject's reign in Cuba. Despite this setback, our subject's experience in Cuba demonstrated his ability to operate on an international scale and adapt to changing circumstances. Another key aspect of our subject's global connections was his use of offshore banking and tax havens. Long before these practices became commonplace, he recognized the value of moving money across borders to avoid scrutiny. He established accounts in Switzerland, the Bahamas, and other jurisdictions with strict banking secrecy laws, allowing him to hide his wealth and evade taxes. These offshore accounts also provided a safe haven for funds generated through illegal activities, ensuring that they could be accessed and used without attracting the attention of law enforcement. Our subject's global network also included alliances with criminal organizations in Europe. He maintained close ties with the Sicilian mafia, leveraging their expertise in drug trafficking and other illicit activities to expand his own operations. These connections were mutually beneficial, as our subject provided access to the lucrative American market while his European counterparts offered a steady supply of contraband. This transatlantic partnership was a key factor in the globalization of organized crime, paving the way for the international drug trade and other large-scale criminal enterprises. In addition to Europe and the Caribbean, our subject also established connections in Latin America. He worked with drug cartels and other criminal organizations to facilitate the flow of narcotics into the United States, using his expertise in logistics and money laundering to streamline the process. These operations were highly profitable but also incredibly risky, as they attracted the attention of both local and international law enforcement agencies. Despite the dangers, our subject's ability to navigate this complex landscape allowed him to maintain his position as a key player in the global criminal underworld. Our subject's global connections were not limited to criminal activities. He also cultivated relationships with legitimate businesses and political figures, using them to further his interests and provide cover for his operations. For example, he invested in real estate developments, shipping companies, and other ventures that allowed him to move money and goods across borders without raising suspicion. These legitimate enterprises served as a front for his illicit activities, providing a veneer of respectability while enabling him to expand his empire. One of the most remarkable aspects of our subject's global network was its longevity. Unlike many of his contemporaries, who were limited by geography or lack of vision, he was able to maintain and grow his international connections over several decades. This was due in part to his ability to adapt to changing circumstances and his willingness to embrace new opportunities. Whether it was the rise of the drug trade in the 1970s or the increasing globalization of the economy, our subject was always one step ahead, using his connections to stay relevant and powerful. However, operating on a global scale also came with its share of risks. The more our subject expanded his empire, the more he exposed himself to scrutiny from law enforcement agencies around the world. He faced investigations from the FBI, Interpol, and other organizations, each determined to bring him to justice. Yet, despite these challenges, he managed to evade significant consequences for most of his life, a testament to his skill and resourcefulness. The legacy of our subject's global connections is profound. He was one of the first figures in organized crime to operate on an international scale, paving the way for the modern global criminal networks that exist today. His ability to forge alliances, navigate complex legal and political landscapes, and adapt to changing circumstances set a standard that others would strive to emulate. In the end, our subject's global connections were not just a means to an end. They were a reflection of his ambition, his intelligence, and his understanding of the world as an interconnected system. He saw opportunities where others saw barriers, and he used his vision to build an empire that spanned continents. His story is a reminder of the enduring allure of power and the lengths to which people will go to achieve it, no matter the costs. In the world of organized crime, where flamboyance and brute force often dominate the narrative, our subject stood out for his quiet and calculating demeanor. Unlike many of his contemporaries, who reveled in their notoriety and used fear and intimidation to assert their dominance, he preferred to operate behind the scenes, avoiding the spotlight and letting his actions speak for themselves. This low-profile approach was not just a matter of personal preference. It was a strategic choice that allowed him to build and maintain his empire with remarkable efficiency and longevity. From the very beginning of his career, our subject understood the value of discretion. While others sought fame and recognition, he focused on results. This mindset was shaped by his early experiences in the rough-and-tumble streets of New York City, where he learned that survival often depended on staying under the radar. He carried this lesson with him throughout his life, using it to navigate the treacherous waters of organized crime with a level of finesse that few could match. One of the key aspects of our subject's quiet persona was his ability to listen and observe. He was a master at reading people and situations, often picking up on subtle cues that others missed. This skill allowed him to anticipate problems before they arose and to make decisions with a level of precision that was almost uncanny. Whether he was negotiating a deal, mediating a dispute, or planning a new venture, he always took the time to gather information and weigh his options carefully. This deliberate approach earned him a reputation as a thoughtful and reliable leader, someone who could be trusted to make the right call. Another defining characteristic of our subject's persona was his ability to remain calm under pressure. In a world where violence and chaos were often the norm, he stood out for his composure and self-control. He rarely raised his voice or lost his temper, even in the most tense and dangerous situations. This calm demeanor not only helped him maintain his own focus, but also had a calming effect on those around him. It was a quality that inspired confidence and loyalty, making him a natural leader in an environment where trust was often in short supply. Our subject's quiet nature also extended to his personal life. Unlike many of his peers, who lived extravagantly and flaunted their wealth, he preferred a more modest lifestyle. He avoided flashy displays of success, choosing instead to invest his money in ways that would secure his future and expand his influence. This frugality was not just a matter of personal taste, it was a strategic decision that allowed him to avoid drawing unnecessary attention to himself. By living below his means, he was able to maintain a low profile and reduce the risk of attracting the scrutiny of law enforcement. This calculated approach to life was particularly evident in his relationships with others. Our subject was not one to form close friendships or emotional attachments. Instead, he viewed relationships as tools to be used in the pursuit of his goals. He was careful about whom he trusted and always kept a certain distance, even from those he worked with closely. This detachment allowed him to make decisions based on logic rather than emotion, a quality that served him well in the cutthroat world of organized crime. Despite his quiet demeanor, our subject was not without his share of charisma. He had a way of commanding respect without saying much, a presence that made people take notice. This quiet authority was one of his greatest assets, allowing him to lead without the need for overt displays of power. It was a style of leadership that was both effective and enduring, enabling him to maintain his position at the top of the criminal hierarchy for decades. Our subject's ability to stay out of the spotlight also played a crucial role in his ability to evade law enforcement. While others in his line of work were often brought down by their own egos or carelessness, he remained focused and disciplined. He understood that the key to longevity in organized crime was not just intelligence or resources, but also the ability to avoid making mistakes. By keeping a low profile and operating with precision, he was able to stay one step ahead of the authorities, even as they intensified their efforts to bring him to justice. This quiet and calculating persona was not without its challenges. In a world where power was often equated with visibility, our subject's low-profile approach sometimes made it difficult for him to assert his authority. There were moments when he had to remind others of his influence, often through subtle but unmistakable gestures. Yet, even in these instances, he preferred to let his actions speak for themselves, relying on his reputation and track record to make his point. The legacy of our subject's quiet and calculating persona is a testament to the power of restraint and strategy. In a world dominated by larger-than-life figures, he proved that success could be achieved through intelligence, discipline, and a willingness to stay out of the spotlight. His ability to navigate the complexities of organized crime with such precision and grace set him apart from his peers and ensured his place in history as one of the most enigmatic and influential figures of his time. In the end, our subject's quiet and calculating nature was not just a personal trait. It was a strategic advantage that allowed him to build an empire, evade the law, and leave an indelible mark on the world of organized crime. His story is a reminder that true power often lies not in the loudest voice or the most visible presence, but in the ability to think, plan, and act with purpose and precision. The story of our subject is not just a tale of crime and ambition. It is a reflection of the complexities of power, influence, and the human condition. Long after his death, his legacy continues to captivate and intrigue, serving as a symbol of the enduring allure of the American dream and the darker forces that often underpin it. His life and career have left an indelible mark on the world of organized crime, shaping its evolution and influencing its trajectory in ways that are still felt today. One of the most significant aspects of our subject's legacy is his role in the professionalization of organized crime. Before his rise, the criminal underworld was largely fragmented and disorganized, with individual gangs operating independently and often at odds with one another. Our subject saw the potential for a more structured and efficient approach, one that emphasized collaboration, strategic planning, and long-term thinking. Through his leadership and vision, he helped transform organized crime into a sophisticated and highly profitable enterprise, setting a standard that others would strive to emulate. The National Crime Syndicate, which our subject played a key role in creating, stands as one of his most enduring contributions. This coalition of criminal organizations brought a level of order and stability to the underworld that had never been seen before. It established a framework for resolving disputes, allocating resources, and coordinating large-scale operations, paving the way for the modern mafia and other criminal networks. The syndicate's influence extended far beyond the United States, inspiring similar coalitions in Europe, Asia, and Latin America. Its legacy is a testament to our subject's ability to think big and see the potential for organization in a world often defined by chaos. Another key aspect of our subject's legacy is his role in the development of Las Vegas. His vision and ambition helped transform a remote desert town into a global gambling and entertainment capital, a place where fortunes are made and lost and where the lines between legality and illegality are often blurred. The casinos, hotels, and nightclubs he helped establish set a standard for luxury and excess that continues to define Las Vegas today. His influence can be seen in the city's skyline, its culture, and its enduring reputation as a place where anything is possible. Our subject's mastery of money laundering also left a lasting impact on the world of finance. The techniques he pioneered, front businesses, offshore accounts, shell companies, are still used today, albeit with greater sophistication and on a larger scale. His ability to manipulate the financial system and evade detection set a precedent for modern financial crime, influencing everything from drug cartels to corporate fraud. The methods he developed have become a standard part of the criminal playbook, a testament to his ingenuity and foresight. Yet, perhaps the most enduring aspect of our subject's legacy is the way he blurred the lines between crime and commerce. By integrating his illicit earnings into the legitimate economy, he demonstrated the extent to which the two worlds are intertwined. His story is a reminder that the pursuit of wealth and power often involves navigating a moral gray area where the rules are fluid and the stakes are high. This duality, the ability to operate in both the shadows and the light, is a defining feature of his legacy, one that continues to fascinate and challenge our understanding of success and morality. Our subject's life also serves as a cautionary tale, a reminder of the costs and consequences of the pursuit of power. Despite his intelligence, resourcefulness, and ability to evade the law for most of his life, he was not immune to the pressures and challenges of his chosen path. The constant threat of prosecution, the loss of his Cuban empire, and the eventual decline of his influence in Las Vegas all serve as reminders that even the most powerful figures are not invincible. His story is a testament to the fragility of power and the inevitability of change. In popular culture, our subject's legacy lives on through books, films, and television shows that explore his life and career. These portrayals often romanticize his story, depicting him as a larger-than-life figure who outsmarted the system and lived by his own rules. While these depictions may not always be accurate, they reflect the enduring fascination with his life and the mythos that has grown around it. He has become a symbol of the antihero, a figure who challenges our notions of right and wrong and forces us to confront the complexities of human nature. Finally, our subject's legacy is a reflection of the times in which he lived. His rise to power coincided with some of the most transformative periods in American history, from the Roaring Twenties to the Great Depression to the post-war boom. His ability to adapt to these changes and seize new opportunities is a testament to his resilience and vision. His story is not just a personal narrative, but a window into the broader social, economic, and political forces that shaped the 20th century. In the end, our subject's enduring legacy is a testament to his intelligence, ambition, and ability to navigate the complexities of power. He was a man who saw opportunity where others saw only risk, who understood the importance of organization and strategy, and who left an indelible mark on the world of organized crime. His story continues to captivate and intrigue, a reminder of the enduring allure of the American dream, no matter how dark its shadows may be.